Hello everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub and today I'm going to be going over all of the details that most people aren't taking advantage of that make the gun so much more effective when you use them properly. And a ton of these tips without them makes the guns you're using not even close to worth it. And you may be thinking that it's just going to be about the niche weapons that no one picks up, but the Phantom and the Vandal are on this list as well because I don't know anyone who knows the exact strengths and weaknesses of the Phantom versus the Vandal like we're going to talk about in this video. And these tips will easily start to pick you up more kills and make you way more deadly with these weapons. And these are the strategies we see the pros implementing, which makes them look so much more effective and efficient with their weapons of choice. But before we get into the meat of the video, what do you think is the most powerful weapon in Valorant right now? Now, personally, I want to say the Frenzy because it's only 400 credits. And although it has a tiny magazine, it pumps out enough bullets and damage per second to kill someone with a rifle before they even know what happened to them. So even on those rounds where you don't have enough money for anything, you can still snag that little chance to change the entire round for 400 credits. But I know there are arguments for the Odin, the Operator, and a ton of people are going to choose the Stinger, which I actually said recently was credit for credit the most powerful weapon in Valorant. But that's exactly why I want to hear from you guys. I know you have different opinions and you're going to think of things that I haven't. So let me know in the comments down below which weapon you guys think is the most powerful weapon in Valorant right now and why you think it's that way. But of course, we have to start with the Phantom and the Vandal because they're actually very important stats and numbers to know if you want to be as efficient as possible with these weapons. And these numbers, as far as I know, have only surfaced once in patch notes from the middle of beta. And in those patch notes, Riot released the tap efficiency and gun recovery time statistics for the Phantom and the Vandal. Now, I've always heard and assumed that the Vandal was better for tapping because it just felt better, and honestly, it just does more damage for headshots, so it has to be better, right? Well, aside from that, all of the placebo things, there's actually a built-in mechanic that makes the Vandal naturally better at tap firing effectively, and a built-in mechanic that makes the Phantom just not very good at it, and that's the tap efficiency stat block. Now, as you can see here, the Vandal now sits at a 6 tap efficiency, while the Phantom sits at a 4 tap efficiency rating. And tap efficiency is basically just the rate that inaccuracy develops over the course of you firing your bullets, and then firing again before your accuracy fully resets. Which basically just means the higher the number, the faster you can tap your shots, and the more accurate you can be over more shots in a small period of time. And it may not seem like a lot, but the difference between a 4 tap efficiency like the Phantom and a 6 tap efficiency like the Vandal is a huge difference. Now, the Vandal is able to get off around 8 tap shots very quickly in a very tight spread, while the Phantom can only really get 4 shots off accurately before it starts to go crazy whenever you're tap shooting, which means the Vandal is honestly just overall a far superior weapon for tap firing, where the Phantom is honestly just not very good for it. With the Phantom, you need to hit 2 of your only 4 accurate shots that you can get off, and one of them has to be a headshot also for you to pick up a kill. While with the Vandal, you actually get 8 shots on target and you only need to hit 1 of those headshots or 4 of those into the body. Where really, with the Vandal, you should be implementing these long range angles and you should start tap firing accurately far more often than we are currently. And then we have the gun recovery time. This is another hidden statistic that makes the Phantom naturally better than the Vandal with accuracy resetting, making burst fires way more effective with this weapon. Have you ever been in the situation where you get a bunch of shots off, let your accuracy reset because you didn't quite finish off the kill, and then start shooting again to then finish off that kill, only to still be firing way above your target because your accuracy hasn't reset yet for some reason? Well, the stat that sets this time is the gun recovery time. And you can see here that the Phantom has a 0.025 second faster reset time. And this is a small number, it doesn't seem like much, right? But that's actually an 8% faster reset time over the Vandal, which is a lot faster in the grand scheme of things. But it also means you shouldn't be swapping back and forth between the Phantom and the Vandal like most people do because the two values of a very core aspect of their traits are different. Meaning that swapping back and forth, you're going to have a way tougher time getting used to the cadence of the shots between the Phantom and the Vandal, and you're really just going to be messing yourself up with muscle memory in the long ton. But most people would naturally think these guns have the same reset time because they are very similar. But since they are slightly different, you should really just be sticking to one gun so you can get used to the reset timing as much as possible. And you should pretty much never be tap firing with the Phantom and be utilizing the faster accuracy reset time by abusing the strafe shooting and burst fire mechanics way more often if you choose to use the Phantom. Also remember, if you're serious about improving, then go to skillcapped.com SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you how to win more gunfights, master your agent, and so much more. It's also backed by our rank improvement guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. So come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. And then we have the Classic, and this is honestly one of those strategies that came about at the perfect time. Now with the Frenzy's price being nerfed and it being the reigning king of pistol round right now, we should start seeing more Classics come back into the pistol round meta. But honestly, for a while, the Classic seemed completely unusable for me, because you were just relying on that first burst to get a kill, and after that you didn't have much left in the arsenal to actually pick up those kills. And then this new firing technique came about that allows you to get the same amount of shots off in the same amount of time with almost the exact same accuracy that you had with the old Classic right click ability that has now been changed a bit. And the biggest change we saw here to the Classic is the decrease in accuracy over the right click spam for the Classic. You can still left click exactly the same as you would, but the way it breaks down is this for the right clicks. The first burst fire is actually the exact same as before. The second, consecutive burst fire, meaning you're doing it right after the first, is 75% as accurate as the first, and then the third and fourth consecutive burst shots are 31% as accurate as the first, making it almost never worth consecutively spamming the Classic right click. Because 75% accurate is almost not worth doing, 31% accuracy is not even close to consistent enough to consider using. But instead of the Classic spamming right click until you fire all 12 bullets, you're going to left click and then right click and then left click and then right click again until you fire all 12 bullets in your clip. This way you're getting off just as many bullets in the same period of time, but your bullets are way more accurate, and it's actually more shots on target than the previous Classic because you're getting those accurate left clicks off in between shots while you're letting your burst fire inaccuracy reset as much as possible. So while I'm still seeing a ton of people spamming out that right click, crossing their fingers and spraying bullets feet away from their target because they're so inaccurate, you can actually be even more accurate just by changing up the cadence that you're shooting with. And honestly, if this strategy gets adopted by more people, we should start seeing the Classic come back into meta just like it was before, because it's actually the exact same as before, if not slightly better with this new firing pattern. And next up we have the Bucky. The Bucky is actually one of those weapons that has a strong place in the meta, but hasn't been picked up as much as it's expected to, and on 100 Thieves, Hiko thinks it's one of the strongest eco weapons in the entire game. And personally, I think very soon the Bucky is going to surface itself as one of the staples in eco rounds in the game. But right now, the biggest problem I see is people using the Bucky, but they're just doing it wrong. They try to get as close to people as possible, which with a judge, that is the exact way you want to do it, and they're trying to play tight angles and look for those suicide angles where they can maybe get a kill and then die for it, just because they have an eco weapon they don't expect to do a whole lot. When actually, for a shotgun, the Bucky is a decently long range peek and then re-peek weapon. It's not a suicide weapon you're just trying to get one kill with. With the Bucky, you have a right click that essentially extends your range by 7.5 meters, but it just makes that first 7.5 meters before it detonates do 0 damage. And this seems a little complicated, but we actually have a built-in ping system in Valorant that easily shows you the range that you're operating with. And after this 7.5 meters all the way up to 16 meters, you can easily do 150 damage with one right click very consistently. So while engagements under 8 meters are often pretty hard to consistently find, and those are the ones where you're going to be left clicking, fights between 8 and 16 meters are very easy to find and very common on every map, because these are the ranges you're usually going to be working with no matter what weapon you have in your hand. And with these somewhat longer range engagements, it allows you to get those quick peeks, right click, and then get back behind your cover after one-shotting someone with your Bucky type engagements that you really want to thrive with as a Bucky player. Aside from that, the Bucky and shotguns in general are actually made way more deadly with the use of the crouch mechanic in the game, because the guns get so much more accurate. While other guns don't see quite as much immediate benefit from the recoil reduction from crouching with a shotgun actually makes the entire spread circle much smaller. This just makes those 150 damage judge and Bucky shots way more consistent, because way more of your shots are going to be on target. This means you can crouch and hold an angle from over 15 meters with a 9 900 credit Bucky and consistently one-shot the first person around the corner before just walking back casually to safety because you've already one-shot that guy. And next up we have aiming down sights, because it's becoming much more common in high elo to actually aim down sights with your weapon, because even though there's a slower fire rate for most weapons, it does one very important thing. It attaches your crosshair to your recoil pattern. And the most important thing to note here is that in Valorant we have randomized spray patterns. While it's very consistent, it's not perfect, meaning that your shots can go off target at any given time very heavily because of the randomness of the pattern, and the more you shoot, the more they go off target. But aiming down sights actually allows you to counteract this problem, because instead of moving your crosshair away from your target to make your bullets go towards the target like normal, you're now moving your crosshair back to your target because it's bouncing away in the pattern that your bullets would be going. And at the beginning of Valorant, everyone thought that aiming down sights would just be a complete bust because of the slower fire rate on most weapons, but it's actually becoming the meta for engagements over 25 meters, especially in the hands of Vandal players. And it seems like every round players like Hiko are aiming down sights more and more because you're way more accurate, and the randomized spray patterns is the biggest limiting factor when it comes to long range time to kill. And aiming down sights, which almost every player roasted on in the early stages of Valorant, fixes that problem entirely and allows good players to pick up much cleaner and more precise kills on those longer range targets. And not to mention, the already overpowered Stinger has a 4-shot burst when aiming down sights, making it an absolute laser at long ranges, and the Bulldog has a 3-round burst that you only need one of those shots to hit the head for it to full kill a target that is very accurate and very deadly. And both of these guns should be used aiming down sights anytime you're over the 20-meter range, so this technique we used to roast on is actually just becoming part of the meta. And finally, one smaller tip that might save your life on occasion is that the pistols you're picking up as a secondary weapon have different pull-out and equip times that you need to be aware of. Now, the Ghost is the lowest at a 0.75 second equip time, and the next lowest is a 1 second equip time at full. I see a ton of people picking up an operator and going for a Frenzy or a Sheriff as their backup weapon, only to miss a shot, hit somebody through a wall, or leg them, and then have to pull out their secondary and it take an absolute eternity before they're able to get a shot off and finish the target. So while this might seem very minor, at the end of pistol rounds, just drop that Frenzy you picked up for a Ghost, because it's not going to be your main weapon anymore, but picking up a Ghost allows you to swap to your secondary way faster than reloading, and it gives you that little bit of extra firepower in case you get in those sticky situations where you run out of bullets before you've killed everyone. And as I'm sure you guys have heard me preach about over and over on this channel, it's these tiny 1% strategies that seem like they don't do a whole lot, but adding all of these tiny strategies together end up making a huge difference in your game in the long run. But remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. And are there any weapon tips that we missed that you notice people misusing? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those notification bells on, because we here at SkillCapped have a ton more comprehensive premium guides that you're going to want to stay up to date with so you can stay ahead of the pack. And as always, I want to thank you for spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.